I'm a successful businessman from New York City. It's the early 1900s, and I want to tell you about my son Leroy and why I sent him west to Kansas to stay with a college friend of mine, and what living in the Solomon Valley did for him. Now, I received letters from a number of people, and I got letters from Leroy's mother, so I'll be reading from those so that you can get a feel for really how Leroy's journey went. First of all was a letter from myself to Daniel Bronson, Tolton, Kansas. Dear Dan, I can't realize that we're both getting close to 60 now, with children growing up. Dan, it seems like such a short time when we went out of Yale together, neck and neck for honors. That was a glorious jaunt we took across the plains in the 70s. You stayed in Kansas because you wanted to, and I came back to New York because I had to. But I'm writing you now, Dan, to ask a favor of you. You remember that rheumatism that hobbled me down when I went to Kansas 30 years ago or more? You ought to, because you had to carry me half the time. And you remember what 6 months in the Solomon Valley did for me. I came home sound as a dollar, never a twinge of rheumatism since that summer. Now my boy Leroy, who finished Yale a year ago, has that same cursed affliction and has had it for nearly 2 years. I want to send him to you for 6 months. First, to lose that rheumatism and confirmed invalid notion somewhere out there on the prairies. And second, to learn what the West and country life are about and what they're worth. Can you stand him for that time? I'm proud of him, of course, but he must learn that he's only a temporary invalid and he must get a bigger perspective on the country. With wishes to you and the children, I am yours, as always, John Ellerton. I received a letter back from Daniel in April. Dear John, you know I'm glad to be able to return a small part of the obligation I owe you. Send Leroy at once. We can care for him nicely. I'm afraid he'll find us dull company. But if he likes music, Eunice can play and sing some. But business aside, Jack, it did me good, a world of good, to see your handwriting again, and I jumped at the thought of having your boy with us. The Solomon Valley is the Garden of Eden. My Seth is a perfect giant now. He finishes college next year, and he's about made up his mind to go west when he gets through. Of course, I'd rather keep him here. Seth here, I need him to go. The ranch is getting to be more of a proposition to manage every year. Eunice has finished her teachers here and wants to go east in the fall. It was her mother's wish that she should have a musical career. Again, I assure you, we will welcome your boy and do our best to comfort him. With kind regards to Mrs. Ellerton, I am faithfully yours, Daniel Bronson. And then I have a letter from Leroy to me with his first impressions. Here I am in this God-forsaken Kansas region called the Solomon Valley. It may be a degree better than Death Valley, which is still farther west somewhere, I am told. It seems that I might have gone to Europe like a gentleman if you hadn't come down on me with a mandate. Go to the Solomon Valley for 6 months and come back cured forever. 6 months, I'll be cured long before that, for I'll be dead. I can't see where this valley comes in here. It's flat as a pancake for 10,000 miles in every direction. Find a place to cure rheumatism, though. Why my father should think I would ever get well in such a miserable place, I can't comprehend. Your friend Bronson met me at the station. He's a tall man, broad-chested, erect with a grizzled dark hair and bright dark eyes. He's a farmer, of course. Tan face and hands, home-laundered shirt, plain clothes, and freshly black boots. The Bronsons have a better house than I expected, and my den here is spotlessly clean. The view from my window is really wonderful. There isn't any Mrs. Bronson now, it seems, and the daughter is the housekeeper. She isn't unattractive, and she is a good cook. Oh dear, will this 6 months ever end? Good night, Father. I'm going to bed. I will write to Mother in the morning. Yours with the backache, Roy. Roy's mother shared the letter that he sent to her. Well, here I am. That is to say, nowhere. There is a father, not bad to look at for a farmer, but all farmer. And there is a son, I am told, and there is a daughter. They are not bad looking. Eunice, that is the girl, is not like a farmer's daughter. Exactly. When I wasn't thinking of the pain in my shoulder, I couldn't help noticing her a little bit. What does she look like, you will ask? Well, frankly, I don't know. Like any other green Kansas girl, I reckon. She was arranging the cushions, and as she shook out the pillows, I noticed her hands were smooth, and her bare elbows actually had dimples. I'm afraid I'll be expected to do the gallant thing by this Eunice mother. Rheumatism and gallantry don't go well together, and I don't know why I must spend energy on this daughter. I was sent here, and I'm serving out a 6-month sentence. That's all. So Leroy sent me another note after he'd been there 6 weeks. As I've been idle for a year, it seems good to work again, and I didn't think I would get rid of so much pain in such a short time. It's been 6 weeks since I arrived here. The air is wonderful, and I sleep all night now. And I could eat anything from a cucumber pickle to a Kansas politician. I want you to know that these folks out here aren't such heathen as you would think. Seth Bronson is a physical giant, fair though, like Eunice. Did I tell you that Eunice has pretty fine skin for Kansas? I forgot my rheumatism altogether and stand straighter than I have in a year. I do believe that in a previous incarnation, I somehow belonged to the soil and planted and harvested and was at home on horseback. So it seems that Leroy's having maybe a little change of heart. And then Leroy sent another letter to his mother. Why, Mommy, dear Kansas is on the map, I must tell you about Eunice. She's not like any other farmer's girl I ever saw. There's a cute little curve at the corners of her mouth that saves it from being too set. She has a mind of her own. She says if she lived in a big city in Kansas where women could vote, she would. She does on everything with grace and not undignified, even if she lives in the West. Kansas seems to put purpose into everybody. I got another letter from Leroy in June, so this would be 2 months into his stay, maybe just a little more. I am so much better now, I take no note of time. I'm finding something new every day, and every day I'm getting a new power of resistance. I have nearly forgotten my rheumatism. The June days are warm here, but the nights are glorious. Sun and always a breath of soft air sweeping up from the south when the sun goes down. And what sunsets! The longer I stay here, the more I see what this ranch should mean to one born here. This farm life appeals to me more and more. Eunice asked me to go with her one afternoon to show me something that I would never find duplicated in my state of New York. What she showed me was a wonderful welling up of salt water, just like the clear green waves off Long Island. A large mound of earth 30 feet high and 100 across the cut where the water fills to the brim. The depth is only guessed at. And the Indians came and called it Wakanda, spirit water, and worshipped it whatever they could not understand. All the Solomon Valley lay like a dream of peace under its spell. In August, the letter from Leroy was even more positive. I'm getting better all the time, although I'm not quite well yet. Not quite well enough to go home yet. There's a whole lot better country than you know anything about back home. I don't wonder that you lost your rheumatism here. I've been teasing Eunice about the real forest up in New York State. And she said, wait till August, and we'll go see some real trees, grand old oaks. One day we drove miles and miles up the Solomon Valley. for a picnic, and Father, we did see such a grove of beautiful oaks as you would never think on an old prairie could grow. Nestling under the shadows of the oaks were tents and tents for the folks who came here every August and every August time. They are good folks to look at, too, these inhabitants of the plains. Friends of the Bronsons that I met at a Chautauqua event do very well, much like real Easterners. They send their kids to college, and they don't seem to think much if a member of the family goes to Europe for a summer vacation. September, I wrote to Daniel and said, "My dear old Dan, Roy's case is very hopeful. Why, he's a credit to me. Learns faster than I thought he could. Writes like he had to instruct his green old father concerning the merits of your family. You must be a splendid teacher." The joke is on the cub, of course. He's got a bad case of Kansas fever as he has a rheumatism. Now watch him squirm when I write to him to come home. You've carried him over the slough you used to carry me over when I was helpless with rheumatism. You blessed old son of a horse thief, just as you carried me over the rough place at Yale. And to Roy, I wrote, "Your 6 months is nearly up. Only 2 weeks more. Of your own confession, your rheumatism left you in August, but I wanted to be sure of it. You must be very tired of the Bronson family by now, so I'd write to tell you to come home at once. I sail for Liverpool on the 16th. Come as soon as you get this, and we can go together. You might spend the fall in Italy with your mother. That would just suit you. You needn't answer, come." And then I got this letter from Leroy. "Dear Daddy, what's the bloomin' matter with you anyhow? And why did you ever think I'd want to spend a glorious autumn in Italy? I haven't asked for a reprieve, have I? I'm willing to serve out my sentence here in Kansas, Kansas is just in its glory now. They say the Octobers are splendid here. I can believe it, and I'm writing to ask for an extension of my sentence of 6 months on account of bad behavior. Why do you insist on cutting off 2 weeks of the time just when the old earth is at its finest? The Solomon Valley in October and a myriad changing of hues made the landscape radiant with beauty. Everything is arranged for the next 3 or 4 weeks ahead. When you see Mother, tell her I'm the best I've been in 3 years. When I read your letter to Eunice, she looked a little disappointed. I told her I should ask for a stay of execution, and she only laughed and recommended me to Italy. Hope you have a fair voyage to Liverpool, but I can't possibly join you now. It would appear that the lad is smitten by the young Eunice." So, you might ask who in this tale is the legend that we talk about in legends. Well, actually, none of them are. They're all characters in the novel, The Peace of the Solomon Valley, written by Margaret Hill McCarter. Ms. McCarter is our legend. She died in 1938 at the age of 78 and was a teacher and novelist. She was the best known and highest paid novelist in Kansas for her time. Between 1901 and 1925, she wrote 17 novels and novellas. The book I just quoted from, written in 1911, was extremely popular as a gift book, and its sales surpassed any previous fiction offerings from that publishing house. Margaret was born a Quaker in Indiana, where she was educated and began teaching. She achieved her bachelor's degree from the Indiana State Normal School, completing the 4-year course in just 2, and was considered one of the most brilliant students that ever graduate that institution. She came to Kansas in 1888 to become head of the English department at Topeka High School. Including her time in Indiana, she taught for 15 years. Married in 1890, she raised 3 children in Topeka and began her writing career. But she was not just an author. She was extremely active in Topeka women's clubs, was a noted public speaker in great demand, and was a force in the Kansas Republican Party. There was even talk that she would be a good Kansas Supreme Court justice. She addressed the 1920 Republican National Convention, the first woman to ever do so. She received 3 honorary degrees, a master's from Baker University, and a doctorate from Washburn and Emporia. So I quote you now from a standard history of Kansas and Kansans, written and compiled by William Conley in 1918. No one succeeded so well in translating the atmosphere of Kansas prairies and the experience and ideals of Kansas men and women as has Margaret Hill McCarter, author of Middle West fiction. It has been her task to search out and clothe with fitting words the simplicity and the real grandeur of the people who made Kansas and are still its breath of life. That's all I have. If anybody needs additional information on Ms. McCarter, I have additional information with me. I very much appreciate your time. Thank you very much.